inside the minds of sociopaths. A psychological breakdown. What if I told you that right now? As you're watching this video, there's roughly a 4% chance that someone in your immediate circle exhibits sociopathic traits. That's statistically 1 in every 25 people around you. But here's what's truly unsettling. You might never know it. Today, we're exploring one of the most misunderstood yet fascinating aspects of the human mind. What science has discovered about these individuals will challenge everything you think you know about manipulation, emotion, and human connection. They can understand intellectually that you're sad, but they don't experience that sadness themselves. It's like watching a movie about emotions rather than living them. Welcome back to The Hidden Know, where we dive deep into the mysteries of human psychology. Let's start with something that might shock you. Sociopaths aren't necessarily violent criminals. In fact, Dr. Martha Stout, a clinical psychologist at Harvard Medical School, estimates that many sociopaths are walking among us as successful business leaders, politicians, and even healthcare workers. The key difference: they lack what psychologists call affective empathy, the ability to actually feel what others feel. This creates what researchers call emotional poverty. They see emotions as tools to be used rather than experiences to be shared. Here's where it gets really interesting. Sociopaths are master mimics. Neuroscientist Dr. James Fallon discovered through brain imaging that sociopaths have reduced activity in the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for empathy and moral reasoning. But here's the twist. They have heightened activity in areas related to observation and pattern recognition. This means they become incredibly skilled at reading people and mirroring appropriate emotional responses. They're like emotional chameleons, adapting their personality to whatever gets them what they want. One former sociopath described it as wearing masks so often that you forget what your real face looks like. The manipulation starts incredibly early. Child psychologist Dr. Paul Frick has studied children with class and emotional traits and found that some kids as young as 3 years old already show signs of sophisticated manipulation. It's like discovering a superpower that gets you everything you want. Over time, this becomes their default mode of interaction with the world. They learn to weaponize tears, charm, and even aggression with surgical precision. But here's what's disturbing. They don't manipulate out of malice initially. They manipulate because it works. Sociopaths experience a phenomenon called emotional contagion resistance. While most people unconsciously mirror the emotions of those around them, feeling happy when others are happy, or tense when others are stressed, sociopaths remain emotionally unaffected by other states. They can make cold, calculated decisions while everyone else is paralyzed by emotion. This is why you'll often find them in crisis management roles or high-pressure careers. Dr. S. Viding from University College London found that this gives them a massive advantage in high-stress situations. Here's something that'll make you question every relationship you've ever had. Sociopaths are attracted to highly empathetic people. Dr. Sandra Brown, who studies relationships with sociopaths, calls highly empathetic individuals sociopath. To a sociopath, these traits aren't beautiful qualities. They're exploitable weaknesses. They can sense emotional generosity the way a predator senses vulnerability. Why? Because empathetic people make excuses for bad behavior, give endless second chances, and often blame themselves when relationships go wrong. The mask of sanity is almost perfect. Dr. Hervé Cleckley, who coined this term, observed that sociopaths often appear more charming, confident, and successful than average people. They've learned to present an idealized version of personality traits that others find attractive. But here's the catch. Maintaining this mask requires constant mental energy. Some sociopaths report feeling exhausted by the end of the day from performing normal human emotions. It's like being an actor who never gets to leave the stage. Sociopaths have a unique relationship with fear. Neuroscientist Dr. Adrian Raine discovered that sociopaths have abnormally low levels of activity in the amygdala, the brain's fear center. This means they genuinely experience less fear than average people. While this might sound like a superpower, it's actually a double-edged sword. They take risks. Others wouldn't, but they also fail to learn from dangerous situations. They might touch a hot stove repeatedly because they don't develop the same fear-based learning that protects the rest of us. Here's something that challenges everything we think we know about it. Some sociopaths are aware of their condition and actively try to compensate for it. Dr. Mee Thomas, a sociopath who wrote about her experiences, describes creating rule systems to guide her behavior since she can't rely on emotional intuition. She says it's like being colorblind, but learning to navigate a world full of color by memorizing which numbers correspond to which colors. They develop elaborate mental frameworks to mimic normal social behavior, even though they don't feel the underlying emotions. The shallow effect creates a paradox. While sociopaths struggle with deep emotions, they often experience more intense pleasure from novel experiences. Dr. Robert Hare's research shows that sociopaths have heightened dopamine responses to new stimulus, which explains their constant need for stimulation and tendency toward risk-taking behavior. This is why sociopaths often have chaotic lifestyles filled with dramatic relationships, career changes, and sometimes illegal activities. This creates what researchers call the excitement addiction. They need increasingly intense experiences to feel anything at all. Sociopaths can be surprisingly loyal, but only to their own code. Dr. Kent Keeler, who has scanned the brains of over 5,000 psychopaths and sociopaths, found that they often develop intense loyalty to people they see as useful or interesting. But this loyalty isn't based on love or attachment. It's based on value. Think of it like collecting rare coins. A collector might be very protective of their most valuable pieces, not because they love them emotionally, but because they represent something important to their identity and goals. Here's something that might change how you think about sociopathy entirely. Environmental factors can actually create sociopathic traits. Dr. Bruce Perry's research on childhood trauma shows that severe neglect or abuse can actually rewire the brain to suppress empathy as a survival mechanism. These individuals develop what's called acquired. They weren't born this way, but learn to disconnect from emotions to protect themselves. The tragic irony is that the very mechanism that saved them as children becomes a barrier to healthy relationships as adults. Sociopaths have a unique advantage in detecting deception. Because they're constantly managing their own deceptive behavior, they become incredibly skilled at spotting lies in others. Dr. Aldred Vreege's research shows sociopaths score significantly higher on deception detection tests than average people. They notice micro-expressions, voice changes, and body language tells that others miss. It's like having a built-in lie detector, which they often use to gain advantages in negotiations, relationships, and career situations. The grandiose sense of self isn't just arrogance, it's a coping mechanism. Dr. Aaron Beck's cognitive research suggests that sociopaths develop inflated self-concepts to compensate for their inability to form genuine emotional connections. This explains why sociopaths often gravitate toward positions of power and status. External validation becomes a substitute for internal emotional fulfillment. If you can't get validation from deep relationships, you create it internally through an inflated sense of your own importance. Here's perhaps the most unsettling fact of all. Sociopaths often make highly effective leaders during crises. Dr. Bobiak and his research into corporate psychopaths shows that their ability to make decisions without emotional interference, combined with their natural charisma, can be incredibly valuable during emergencies. They don't panic, they don't get overwhelmed by the suffering of others, and they can make tough decisions quickly. This is why throughout history, some of the most effective wartime leaders and crisis managers have exhibited sociopathic traits. The final fact might give you hope. Recent research by Dr. Ariel Baskins shows that sociopaths can learn to develop what she calls cognitive empathy, the ability to understand and predict others' emotions, even if they can't feel them. It's not about curing them, it's about teaching them to use their analytical minds to navigate social situations more effectively. With proper therapy and genuine motivation, some sociopaths can develop strategies to form healthier relationships and make more ethical decisions. Understanding sociopathy isn't about learning to fear or judge. It's about recognizing the incredible complexity of human psychology in a world of emotions they can't fully experience, often developing remarkable skills in the process. The science shows us that empathy, manipulation, and human connection are far more complex than we ever imagined. And perhaps most importantly, it reminds us that the line between normal and abnormal psychology is often thinner than we think. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest explorations into the hidden corners of the human mind. If you found these insights as fascinating as I did, make sure to subscribe to The Hidden O for more deep dives into the mysteries of human psychology. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and remember, the most important knowledge is often the kind that challenges what we think we already know. What's your take on these findings? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and remember, the most important knowledge is often the kind that challenges what we think we already know.